I get home 40 minutes early and hear a man laugh in my bedroom. Not a TV, not a podcast. A live, careless laugh that splits my world in two. I don't move. I don't shout. I set the grocery bag down and stand there with a coin in my palm. A habit from courtrooms and negotiations. Heads walk away, tails walk in. The coin never lands. I slip it back into my pocket and open the door. Silence. Sheets rustle. A window clicks shut. By the time I step into the hall, the bathroom lock snaps. "Just a second," my wife calls, too bright. Through the bedroom window, I catch a shape dropping from the patio roof. A clean jump, practiced. My best friend, Mark. He hits the lawn and sprints to the side gate like he knows the route. I don't kick the door. I don't say her name. I take out my phone and start the clock on a voice memo. "Time stamp," I whisper, my voice steady. "Tuesday, 5:12 p.m. If I scream, it burns hot for a minute. If I document, it lasts. The bathroom door opens. Jenna steps out, hair damp like she rushed water over it. "You're early," she says, like it's an inconvenience, not a miracle that failed. "Who was here?" I ask. "Nobody." Outside, the side gate clicks. I don't chase him. That would be the amateur move. I nod as if I believe her, and watch the tile where a wet footprint glows for a second and disappears. I used to prosecute fraud. People imagine fraud as drama. It isn't. It's repetition. Tiny lies stacked until weight does the rest. I know how to stack. That night, I sleep on the couch and set alarms for every hour. At 2, I walk the house, slow, and find where the camera in the nursery is powered but not pointed at the crib. It faces the hallway. At 3, the financial app on my phone pings an unfamiliar card added to our family account. At 4, Mark's Instagram story vanishes mid-view. He never deletes. By dawn, I have a list. I work out of a small office over a coffee shop. People come to me when their partners gamble away payroll or their vendors send fake invoices. I explain patterns, then I lay out proof. Now I make a folder with my name on it. I pull phone bills and find a second number on Jenna's account. Prepaid, used only between 9 and 11 at night. I call it. A voicemail answers with no voice. Just 4 seconds of air. I save the audio. At lunch, I walk into Mark's gym. He smiles like he hasn't vaulted off my house. "Ethan, you ghosted me." "Busy," I say. We tap fists. His knuckles are scraped. He doesn't notice he's offered me evidence. "Thursday game?" he asks. "Can't. Family night." He looks past me, misjudging the angle. His gaze lands on a woman behind my shoulder, not on me. That tells me everything about where his attention lives. I leave without a scene. On the sidewalk, I flip the coin. Tails, confrontation. Heads, build the case. It lands on its edge in a crack and stays there, shining like it belongs. I take the hint. Jenna works remote on Wednesdays. I tell her I'm in depositions and spend the day wiring our house. No hidden cameras in bathrooms, no mics in bedrooms. I keep it lawful and clean. Kitchen, living room, hallway. Places where people chatter because they think nothing serious happens there. I install a recorder in the garage where Mark lifts weights when he drops by. I shift the nursery cam back to the crib and put a new one in the hallway, pointed properly with notice. If this becomes a court file, nothing sinks it faster than dirty evidence. By evening, my coin is hot in my pocket. I want to throw it through a window. Instead, I cook tacos like a good man trying. Jenna talks about a client's rebrand. I nod and measure pauses. When she says Mark, her voice thins, as if his name has a grip on her throat. I don't ask questions. Questions give a map. At midnight, the garage recorder wakes. 2 voices low. The gate creaks. Sneakers on concrete. Mark breathes like he's torn between shame and adrenaline. "He knows," he says. Jenna's whisper slides under him. "No, he suspects." I learn more in 30 seconds than in 8 months of marriage counseling. Thursday, I drive to the bank and sit with a manager who owes me favors. We review our accounts. 2 micro transfers went to a new checking account opened in Jenna's maiden name with an address in a neighboring county. Small amounts, test runs. I request a fraud alert, civil, not criminal, and don't close anything. Closing spooks people into running. I want them proud and careless. At a stoplight, I spin the coin. Heads, hire a PI. Tails, Do it myself. It hits my palm. Heads. I dial a woman named Quinn, who used to intern for me, and now makes a living finding truths people don't want. She answers on the second ring. Hey, counselor. I need surveillance, I say. 2 people. 1 week. No heroics, just eyes. Domestic? She asks. Business, I say, and it's not a lie. Marriage is a contract. Fraud is fraud. By Friday, the story of my life has footnotes. A motel off I-25, room 2112. A photo of Mark's truck parked beside a blue Civic with our old campsite sticker on the rear window. Jenna's. A receipt for gas at 1:03 a.m. when we supposedly slept through a storm. A text from Jenna. Working late. Don't wait. That exact phrase copied and pasted 3 times in as many weeks. People think lies need creativity. They don't. They need rhythm. Quinn sends me a video. Mark kissing Jenna in the motel parking lot. Quick, practiced, efficient. It isn't cinematic. It's logistics. That hurts more than romance would have. Logistics mean planning. Planning means I was the only one improvising. I don't throw my phone. I don't drink. I sit in my car outside the motel, 2 blocks away, and flip the coin again. Heads, go in, end it. Tails, wait, pull the thread. It clinks against the console, spins and stalls, standing on its edge like it did in the sidewalk crack. Twice on the edge. Twice the message. I breathe. I press record. Timestamp, I say. Friday, 9:47 p.m. Subject's confirmed pattern. I look at the yellow neon of the vacancy sign pulsing like a warning. I'm not here to break windows. I'm here to build a case so complete it doesn't need force. Across the street, an old man walks his dog, the leash a thin line that holds. I think about lines, marriage vows, friendship, the rules we agree to so we can sleep. Then I watch the motel door open, and the 2 people who promised to love me and to have my back step into the same rectangle of light. The coin is in my fist. The plan is in my head. Part 1 ends where most men detonate. I don't. I choose something colder than rage and sharper than grief. Quinn delivers the rest on Monday. Times, locations, enough proof to make even a half-asleep judge raise an eyebrow. I don't rush. I've learned that damage lands harder when it arrives, dressed as inevitability. First move. Work. My clients trust me because I'm predictable. Today I break that rule. I walk into a board meeting 10 minutes late with a sealed folder. Inside are 2 unsigned affidavits in a timeline. Not of my life, but of a shell company Jenna co-signed with Mark. They've been moving small sums, harmless looking on paper, but enough to hint at a future grab. If I present this to the right regulatory body, it becomes a headline. Second move, network. People talk to me because I listen. Over lunch with an old investigator from the DA's office, I steer the conversation toward bank fraud. He complains about caseloads, the backlog, the politics. I feed him one detail about the shell company and let him think he dug it out of me. He's already making notes before dessert. At home, I act as if nothing's shifted. Jenna's on the couch, scrolling. I ask about her sister, about the weather, about dinner plans. Her answers are automatic. Safe. I match her rhythm until she forgets to be careful. That night, the garage recorder catches a new tone. Not excitement, not guilt, panic. Mark says, he's asking questions at the bank. Jenna's reply, then we stick to the plan and move fast. They think they have a plan. Good. A moving target is easier to steer. Tuesday, I visit the property manager for the building where Mark's gym operates. I've handled his lease disputes pro bono in the past, so he doesn't mind pulling a file. Mark's rent is 6 months behind. The gym looks busy, but money's leaking somewhere else. Maybe into the account with Jenna's maiden name. Maybe toward their exit. I photograph the arrears notice and email it to Quinn with one line, find the hole. By evening, she's traced payments from the shell company to a vendor that doesn't exist. The account belongs to Mark's cousin, who has a record for tax fraud. No creativity, just greed. At the same time, I start my own paper trail. I send Jenna an email from my work address about a potential audit on our joint finances. The wording is dry, the kind a lawyer would use with another professional. She replies in under a minute, we should talk before anything official happens. Perfect. Fear in writing. Wednesday morning, I stopped by the DA's office under the pretense of consulting on a case. In the hallway, I accidentally dropped one of the unsigned affidavits. The investigator I had lunch with picks it up, scans it, and raises an eyebrow. That yours? I shrug like it's nothing urgent. By afternoon, he's calling for more details. I don't want them arrested yet. I want them exposed. Arrest is paperwork. Exposure is permanent. That evening, Jenna says she needs to work late. I tell her I'm meeting an old friend. Instead, I park down the block from the motel. I don't get out. I watch. 9:10 p.m., Mark arrives. 9:12, Jenna. They go inside. 10 minutes later, Quinn texts me a live feed from a street camera she has access to. She synced it with my dash cam. Now I have both angles. The next morning, I leave an unmarked envelope at Mark's gym. Inside, stills from the motel footage, the arrears notice, and a simple note. You have 48 hours to tell her husband everything. The her is deliberate. It makes him think I mean someone else. Panic does the rest. By lunch, Jenna's at my office door, eyes sharp, voice tight. Did you threaten Mark? She asks. No, I say truthfully. I gave him a choice. She tries to read me. I give her nothing. Silence is a mirror. People fill it with their own fears. She leaves without finishing her sentence. Thursday, Quinn calls. They're moving cash, closing accounts. He's trying to sell equipment from the gym. This is the moment to pull the cord. I forward the full file, motel footage, bank transfers, shell company documents, to 3 places at once: the DA's Financial Crimes Unit, the State Licensing Board for Personal Trainers, and Jenna's HR department. I add no comment. Evidence speaks better when it arrives without an agenda. By Friday, Mark's gym is shuttered by state order. Jenna's company announces an internal review and places her on leave. Neither of them calls me. The silence is louder than confrontation. That night, I flip the coin again. Heads, let the legal process bury them. Tails, one final move. It lands tails. Saturday morning, I meet Jenna at a coffee shop. Neutral ground. I slide the coin across the table. What's this? She asks. Decide how we end this. Heads. We go to mediation, divide assets, no public fight. Tails. I testify to everything I've documented, and you take your chances in court. She stares at it, then at me. You'd ruin me? You did that yourself. I just signed the paperwork. She flips. It lands heads. I nod, pocket the coin. Mediation it is. As I leave, Quinn texts. He's leaving town tonight. No forwarding address. I don't care. The DA will find him eventually. My work is here. Clean, lawful, final. I don't feel triumph, just clarity. In my business, you don't win by striking hardest. You win by removing every way back. They built their house on lies. I just pulled out the nails. Mediation isn't drama. It's calendars, numbers, signatures. That's why I chose it. I wanted an end that didn't need a judge's gavel or a crowd. We sit across from each other with a neutral in the middle. I place my folder on the table and don't open it. Jenna knows what's inside. Her attorney does too. The mediator reads the ground rules. No blame, no raised voices, facts only. Jenna starts. I want the car and my personal savings. You can have the car, I say. Savings minus the deposits that came from the Shell account. Her attorney shifts. There's no proof those funds. I slide a single page across. Bank IDs match. Timestamps match motel nights. I don't add commentary. The mediator notes the adjustment and moves on. Alimony? The mediator asks. No, I say. We both work. I won't subsidize fraud. Jenna looks down. She doesn't deny it. That helps. We divide furniture with check marks. We decide who pays which card. It's dull on purpose. The only sharp part is the clause I add at the end. A written admission that she and Mark created the Shell company and routed funds through it. Not for criminal use here, just to prevent a later claim that I imagined the whole thing. Her attorney resists. I let the silence do the pushing. After a pause, Jenna signs. Outside, the air feels cleaner because there's less to pretend about. Quinn texts me. DA filed charges against Mark. Fraud and falsified records. Warrant in 24-48 hours. I type back one word, received. I don't ask for status on Jenna at work. HR already made their choice. She's on leave pending termination. No press, no smear campaign. Consequences can be quiet and still be complete. 2 days later, the investigator I nudge calls. We found more than you sent, he says. Your friend used client credit cards to pay gym vendors that weren't real. He's not my friend, I say. We'll need you for a statement, not testimony yet. I'll come in. At the DA's office, I stick to verified facts. No guesses, no adjectives. I explain how I track the money, where the accounts connect, how the shell company's address ties to Mark's cousin. I hand over originals and keep copies. When the interview ends, the investigator thanks me like I did something noble. I didn't. I protected my future from someone who thought he could tax it without consent. That night, Jenna calls. I answer. Did you give them the files? She asks. They already had enough, I say. My file shows where to look. You're trying to send me to jail. If the DA wanted you, he'd have called. This is about Mark. She exhales. We were going to stop. You didn't. A long pause, then. I'm sorry. I heard. The words aren't cruel. They're final. Take care of yourself. We hang up. I don't feel lighter. I feel finished. The warrant for Mark hits on a Tuesday. He's picked up at a storage unit, trying to move equipment he doesn't own. No chase, no spectacle, just handcuffs and a door closing. The report mentions restitution. That's the right word. Pay back what you took. Return what you borrowed from other people's trust. A week later, I sit in a small conference room with Jenna to sign the final decree. No flowers, no speeches, just pens. The mediator slides the stamped order to each of us. We initial where we must. At the end, Jenna pushes a small object across the table. Your coin, she says. I hadn't noticed she'd kept it from the coffee shop. I take it and do nothing with it. Tools don't make decisions. People do. Outside the building, Quinn leans against a rail, looking past me toward traffic. Clean finish, she says. As clean as it gets. She studies my face. You want him to plead or fight? Whichever puts the facts on the record. He'll plead, she says. He can't survive discovery. We're quiet a moment, then she adds. Most people in your position burn down their own house to make a point. I like having a roof, I say. I go back to work. That's the win no one applauds. Ordinary days restored. I meet clients, draft agreements, explain how to guard against small leaks. I tell them what I learned the hard way. Patterns are louder than confessions, and you should build exits before you need them. The DA calls with an update. Mark pleads to reduced counts, agrees to restitution, probation, community service, and a ban on managing client funds. The cousin takes a similar deal. No jail time printed on a headline, but their careers are over. That matters more in the long run. Jenna emails a final time. She's moving out of state, starting over. She offers an apology I don't need and a line about me being a good man. I don't reply. I archive it. Some messages are closure only when you stop answering them. On a Saturday, I drive by the gym out of habit. The windows are covered. A for lease sign hangs crooked. I don't go closer. I don't take a picture. Some chapters don't deserve souvenirs. At home, I empty a drawer and find the coin. I walk to the river trail and flip it one last time. Not for a verdict, for inventory. It arcs, spins, lands flat on my palm. Heads. If this were a trial, that would mean advance. Tails would mean retreat. Today it just means the decision is mine without props. I pocket the coin and keep walking. People expect vengeance to feel like fireworks. It doesn't. It feels like a ledger finally balanced. Not joy, not sorrow. Just the right numbers in the right columns and the quiet that follows when no one owes you anymore. That's my ending. No broken doors, no shouting matches recorded for clicks. Paperwork, signatures, and consequences that stick. They chose their path. I chose mine. 3 months pass. Mark fades into court dates and probation check-ins. Jenna leaves the state like she said she would. I don't track where. It's not avoidance, it's preservation. Work fills most days. I take more fraud cases than usual. People trust someone who's been through the fire and still speaks in measured sentences. They think I'm patient. I'm not. I'm exact. One morning, Quinn calls from a number I don't recognize. "You need to see something," she says. We meet at a diner halfway between her office and mine. She drops an envelope on the table. Inside, a printout from a local business registry. New LLC. Different name. Different owner. Mailing address in a small town 2 hours away. The owner is Mark's cousin. The articles of incorporation list consulting services. The kind of phrase that can mean anything when you don't want it to mean anything specific. Could be nothing, Quinn says, or could be him trying again through a proxy. I ask her to keep watching. If there's one thing I've learned, it's that people rarely abandon the habits that got them in trouble. They just change the logo. A week later, she's back with more. The LLC rented storage space under the cousin's name. Same unit size Mark used before his arrest. Cash payments. No bank trail. I don't want another open confrontation. Court records are still warm. If I push too soon, he'll frame it as harassment. So I go indirect. I have lunch with the same investigator from the DA's office. I talk about a different case, wait until coffee, then mention the LLC. I don't accuse. I just note the pattern. Same family, same type of business, same low visibility transactions. He nods like he's already heard a version of this from someone else. "We'll look at it," he says. I know what that means. They'll wait for a mistake big enough to move on without resistance. 2 weeks later, the mistake comes. The LLC's mailing address shifts to a co-working space in the city. That space has cameras in the lobby. Quinn pulls the footage through a contact. Mark walks in twice in 1 week, swiping a guest pass. He's not banned from business ownership, but he is under a condition to avoid contact with prior co-conspirators. The cousin qualifies. I forward the footage to the investigator without commentary. 2 days later, he calls. "Violation of probation. Judge will want a hearing." At the hearing, I sit in the back. Mark doesn't look for me. The cousin takes the blame, says Mark was just visiting. The judge doesn't buy it. Probation revoked, 90 days in county jail. Not a lifetime, but long enough to send a message. We're still paying attention. After the hearing, Quinn asks if I feel done now. I tell her I was done at mediation. This part is maintenance. One night, I get an email from Jenna. Short. "I heard about Mark. I'm sorry it keeps following you." I don't answer. She's not the one feeding the pattern, but she's part of the history that built it. Some things don't need revisiting. Spring turns into summer. The calls from new clients keep coming. I notice how often their stories start the same way. Small signs ignored until it's too late. I tell them what no one told me soon enough. Document early. Distance yourself before you think you need to. Truth is easier to prove when you've been building the record all along. One afternoon, Quinn drops by with coffee and a grin that means news. Our LLC friends shut down. No forwarding address this time. I ask if she's going to miss the chase. "There's always another case," she says. She's right. Patterns don't die. They migrate. But for me, this one is finally archived. That night, I sit on the porch with the coin. I flip it, not for a decision, just for habit. It lands heads. The first time in months, it's meant something. Even if that meaning is just the reminder that I control the pace now. I put it away. Some tools you keep, not because you need them, but because they remind you of the work that got you here. This chapter's over. The record's clean. The balance holds. 6 months later, the call comes from a man named Douglas Price. He runs a mid-sized logistics company and thinks someone inside is draining him slowly enough to stay unnoticed. We meet in my office. He lays out ledgers, shipping manifests, and payroll logs. I scan the numbers. The losses are small in isolation, but the pattern is familiar. Incremental, methodical, designed to hide in the noise. "Who has access?" I ask. "Operations manager, a few dispatchers, and my son-in-law." He says the last part like it's a coincidence, but I note the order. I take the job. First step, baseline the system. I compare 3 years of data, looking for shifts in vendor payments, fuel purchases, and maintenance bills. There it is, an account coded for equipment lease with a vendor ID that doesn't match any registered company. Second step, identify the human pattern. I have Quinn park across from the operations yard for a week, noting who stays late and who leaves with sealed boxes in the back seat. By day 3, she has photos of the son-in-law making after-hours stops at a warehouse not listed on the company's route map. We track the warehouse lease. It's under a different name, but the guarantor is his cousin. The setup is so close to Mark's old game that I almost think I'm looking at a copycat. I tell Douglas we need to watch longer. He agrees, but his tone changes. Loyalty tugs at him. I've seen it before. Blood ties make the truth harder to swallow. A week later, Quinn catches the cousin unloading Douglas's inventory into unmarked vans. Dates, times, and product IDs all match missing entries in the manifest logs. Douglas still hesitates. Maybe it's a side hustle. Maybe he planned to pay it back. Side hustles don't need shell leases, I say, and no one pays back what they think you'll never notice. I give him 2 options, internal discipline or formal complaint. He chooses a third, confrontation. We set it up in the conference room at his office. Douglas invites his son-in-law under the pretense of discussing a new client. I sit at the far end with a laptop playing footage from Quinn's camera. No voice, just images. Late night loading, unmarked vans, warehouse drops. The son-in-law tries denial. Douglas stays quiet, letting the footage roll. Eventually the man says, "It's not as bad as it looks." That's my cue. I lay out the paper trail, vendor ID, warehouse lease, cousin's name, missing inventory numbers. I explain how each link completes the chain. Douglas asks, "How much?" $78,000 over 14 months, I say. The room is still. The son-in-law leans back like he's calculating the odds. I've seen that look. It's the moment someone decides between fight, flight, or deal. Douglas gives him the deal: resign, repay in monthly installments, and sign a written admission or face the police. He signs. It's not the most aggressive outcome, but it's clean. Douglas gets restitution, avoids the public mess, and sends a message to the rest of the staff. Later, over coffee, Douglas asks how I knew where to start. Patterns, I tell him. Once you've seen one, you recognize the rest. Quinn grins. You've seen more than one. I don't disagree. That night, I think about how many times I've sat across from someone who thought they could bend trust without breaking it. They all tell themselves the same story, that they're smarter than the system, that no one's watching closely, that their version of taking is somehow different. It never is. The next morning, I filed Douglas's case in my records. A line at the bottom notes, resolved via controlled confrontation, voluntary repayment, ongoing monitoring. I keep it brief. The work isn't about drama, it's about outcomes. Before lunch, a new email comes in. Subject line, referral from Douglas. A friend of his suspects his business partner is shifting client contracts into a side company. I read it twice, then forward it to Quinn. Patterns migrate. We follow. Douglas's referral is a man named Aaron Patel. He runs a boutique software firm with a single partner, Reed Lawson. Revenue dipped the same quarter Reed launched a consulting project on the side. Aaron suspects migrations of clients, not bugs. We meet in my office. He brings contracts and renewal logs. I don't see chaos. I see a pattern. 2 long-term clients paused renewals after temporary trials with a third-party vendor Aaron never authorized. The vendor's invoices reference work Aaron's team supposedly performed. Who controls outbound proposal? I ask. Reed. He's good with people. Good with people is often where the leak begins. I bring in Quinn. We map domains, check MX records, and watch for email forwarding. By day 2, she finds a shadow address. Proposals, apexridge.io. Created the week Reed's side project launched. Outbound messages leave Reed's official inbox. Copy quietly to that address, then get resent from Apex Ridge with discounts Aaron can't match without losing money. We pull state filings. Apex Ridge, LLC, Wyoming registration, generic agent. The bank account lists a guarantor with a familiar last name, Lawson, not Reed, an uncle who shares an address with Mark's cousin from my old case. Patterns migrate. Aaron wants proof that will stand up in court or in a buyout, so we lay a trap the clean way. I write a decoy RFP to a new client Quinn controls, with a clause that makes any unauthorized substitution a breach. We send it from Aaron's domain with Reed copied, and we wait. 36 hours later, Apex Ridge replies to Quinn's fake client with the same proposal text, same schedule, and a 10% undercut. The PDF metadata shows Reed's initials. That's the capture. I show Aaron the chain, forwarding rule, domain logs, Shell LLC, match proposal language. He goes quiet. It's the silence of someone grieving something that isn't a person. What's my move? He asks. You have three, I say. 1, terminate for cause and sue. 2, buy him out at a discount with a non-compete. 3, call the DA. I pause. What do you want your staff to learn from this? He chooses 2 with a side of 1. Clean exit, enforceable terms, and a signal that trust has a cost when broken. We set the meeting in Aaron's conference room. Present are Aaron, me, Reed, and Reed's attorney. I don't posture. I let the screens do the work. Email headers, server logs, the decoy RFP, Apex Ridge's reply, bank records. Reed starts with indignation, moves to negotiation, and lands on accusation. This is a witch hunt, he says. You can't prove intent. I slide the decoy file across. Intent attached itself when you forwarded privileged proposals to a company you control through a relative. I say, you signed the metadata. Reed's attorney reads, then shifts to damage control. What terms are you proposing? Resignation today, I say. Transfer of any interest in Apex Ridge to Aaron or dissolution within 30 days. Repayment plan for the diverted revenue. A 2-year non-compete with named clients. And a written admission of breach limited to internal use. I look at Reed. Decline, and we file for injunctive relief at 9 a.m. with a criminal referral attached. He looks at his lawyer, then at Aaron like an escape will appear on his face. It doesn't. He signs. After, Aaron asks if I ever get tired of this. Catching people, he says. Ending partnerships. I don't end them, I say. The dates do. 2 days later, an email from an unfamiliar address lands in my inbox. Subject, you can't keep me out. The body is short, spiteful, and misspells my name. The signature block is an alias, but the writing is Mark's. He must have heard about the uncle connection and taken it personally. I forward the message and header to his probation officer. No reply needed. Boundaries or maintenance. Quinn and I close the file with Aaron. We build new controls. Dual approval on proposals, domain monitoring, vendor verification. Nothing fancy, just friction where drift once lived. A week later, Reed tries one more move. He emails 3 of Aaron's clients from a personal account, claiming sabotage and toxic control. Aaron wants to answer line by line. I tell him not to. We send a single message with attachments, the signed admission and the separation agreement. No adjectives. Facts travel faster when they aren't pulling a card of emotion. Clients stay. The company stabilizes. Aaron wires my fee with a note. Thanks for choosing the scalpel over the hammer. He's right, but the truth is simpler. The scalpel leaves fewer appeals. That night I find the coin at the back of a drawer. I haven't flipped it in months. The urge returns, not for a decision, but for a check on who I am without it. I take it to the porch and think about the first night I heard a laugh that didn't belong in my house, and about every case since where the temptation to scorch the earth was loud. The coin taught me to pause. The work taught me what to do after the pause. I text Quinn. Got a minute? When she arrives, I hand her the coin. What's this? She asks. A reminder you don't need, I say, but keep it anyway. It helped me slow down long enough to do the right thing. She flips it once, catches it, doesn't look. Heads or tails? Neither, I say. It's just metal. She pockets it. What's next? Another pattern, a different logo. We walk back inside. Tomorrow I'll meet a new client, listen for the quiet places where trust leaks, and start another clean record. Revenge turned into discipline somewhere along the way. I didn't notice the exact day, I just know this. I don't chase flames anymore. I adjust valves.